Backgrounds. Backgrounds for the web are very, very important. This is the first place, especially for those of you shooting on a budget, that you can make or break your video production for the web. If your background has got lots of motion in it, if your background has got lots of colors and particularly horizontal lines through it, this can create real problems for your web encoder. Remember, we talked about how the encoder is going to squeeze things down. Well, one thing that encoders really like is they like lots of contrast. They like less color other than the contrasting colors themselves. They do not like horizontal lines, and they definitely like lots of bright images and so forth. But a busy background and a motion background will create havoc. That's the other thing that the encoder likes, is encoders like a static or still background. Now what you see behind me here, this is a green screen or a chroma key background. This is one of the most fun ways and the most variable ways you can create a background in your studio. It might not be exactly what you want. We'll talk more about green screen a little bit later on. But let's talk about some backgrounds that you can do quite easily. Now let's say that you're the typical YouTube blogger or vlogger and you're sitting back in front of your computer and you're looking at that little camera that's sitting on top of your monitors. What's the rest of the world seeing? As that camera's shooting out into your room, it might be seeing your living room and it can see mom or dad or your significant other go walking by, or maybe the cat or the dog goes walking by, or they're seeing traffic driving through. All of that motion, that walking motion, creates problems for the encoder. You can create a background very inexpensively. For instance, so check this one out. All we're looking at here is a bath towel that's been spread across on a rod. Now this will hide whatever is behind you and hide the background to what's going on. And just to give you an idea of how glamorous our studio is, we'll go ahead and zoom out a little bit and you can kind of see what's going on in this shot here. It's really quite simple. There's not very much to it overall. So you can see we've just got a bath towel that's suspended by a rod. So you could do this with a broomstick and some duct tape and a couple of pieces of wire or some fishing line. So we'll zoom back in here. Now let's look at some problem backgrounds. Here's a very simple background that we can work with, but let's look at some problem types of backgrounds. Here's another background. Now, this background is the same background we had just a moment ago, but it's got some problems. You can see that it's wrinkled, and there are lots of different gradients or colors in the towel that are created by light. Additionally, if this starts to move at all, let's say we've got a little bit of a wind or a breeze that comes in, this is going to create a real problem for our encoder. Not only do we have lots of motion, but we've also got the wrinkles and the changing gradients. So things are going to shift back and forth. In fact, you can kind of get an idea how this encodes. You can see it in the lower corner of the screen right here. So we want to have a no motion background, and we want to be sure that we don't have any wrinkles in our background fabric. Let's look at another problem background. So here's another kind of a background. Now this particular background is very bright, it's very loud. It's going to challenge the encoder because it's got lots of detail, and if it has any movement at all, it's definitely going to create some problems for us when it comes time to compress this. So even though it's nice and flat and